What's going on, guys? I'm Jake the Lawn Kid. Welcome back to part 2 of fall lawn seeding basics. For those of you guys who've been watching the series, you guys know that in the last video, video number 1, we talked about how to properly time your fall lawn seeding by checking your soil temperatures and making sure that you gauge it properly so that you have enough time for your seed to grow in, germinate, establish, and harden off before that first freeze. If you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend you watch it. I will leave it here in the eye in the top right corner, as well as linked in the description below. Go watch that video, as it will set the stage for everything we're going to be talking about here in video number 2, where we're going to talk all about some of the materials that you're going to need to consider to make sure that you succeed with your grass seed. With all that being said, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is going to be your seed of choice. Now, real quick, a couple of questions I'm going to get right off the front when it comes to looking for grass seed are going to be along the lines of, Jake, what is the best grass seed to buy? Or Jake, how do I find that perfect blend of grass seed? Well, if I'm going to be honest with you, it's not so much where you source the grass seed from, whether it's big box or boutique. It's more of what the grass seed is made up of, which is why I highly recommend that you do your part and read the label. If there's one thing I always say on this channel, it's that label is law, as it will answer a lot of your questions. So make sure that you do your part and read that label. When we read the label here, we're not going to go too in depth on how to read grass seed labels, because to be honest with you guys, that's another video for another time. But there are a couple of things that I do want you to pay attention to because they are very important, starting with germination rates. So when it comes to finding that best germination rate, or that happy medium when it comes to germination rates in your seeding, I highly recommend that you look for something 85 plus, 85% plus. If you do that, I promise you, you're going to have a little more flexibility with some of the stuff that we're going to talk about going forward. Which brings me to the next label I want you to pay attention to, and that is going to be the date tested. And basically what that means was the date that the seed was officially tested and harvested before it was packaged off and sent off to you or the store that you're going to buy it from. If there's one thing I want you guys to take away from this, when it comes to reading this date right here, I want you to make sure that the day that you buy that seed is as close to the date that that seed was tested as possible, because what can happen is if you either A, buy a new bag, or B, have a bag of grass seed just sitting around over time and it's getting further and further away from the date that that seed was tested, what can happen is a term that you and I know very well, and that is called depreciation. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what depreciation is, basically what it is it's when the value of an item or possession decreases with time and aging. A good example of this would be like buying a car. Let's say you buy a new car for $20,000, right? And then after 2 to 3 years of driving that car, putting miles on it, you finally decide that you want to buy a new car. But then what you realize is that in the process, you want to trade this car in, but you can't sell it for as much as you bought it for because of the fact that it's older, right? It's got more miles, more wear and tear, and because of that, it's just not worth as much as it was when you first bought it. And it's the same with the grass seed, except it's more of the quality of the seed that goes down. And when I say quality, I'm talking about the germination rate. So basically, all you have to remember is the fact that when you get your fresh seed, you're going to have high germination rates, but if you let that seed get further and further away from the date that it was tested, those germination rates are slowly going to start to decrease. Now, if you do have seeds sitting with you for a long period of time, it's not like you can't use it. I mean, you, by all means, go ahead and use it, but what I want you to realize is that while you might get some germination, it's not going to be as high as it was when you first bought it. In summary, make sure that the seed you buy is as close to the date tested as possible so that you can get the most out of those germination rates. The next thing I want you guys to look at is actually going to involve us having to look at 3 different labels on the seed. Now, I don't want you guys to get too overwhelmed as they're all going to overlap in some way, shape, or form. The 3 labels we're going to be looking at are going to be number 1, weed seed percentage, number 2, noxious weed seeds, and number 3, seed crop percentage. Now, starting off with the first one, weed seed percentage, what does that mean? Basically, what that indicates are the percentage of everyday weeds that are present in your grass seed. So, a couple examples of everyday weeds would be like dandelions, clover, foxtail, crabgrass. These weeds are a nuisance to have in your lawn, but they're really easy to control over time with proper chemical and cultural practices. Whereas a level up from that, your noxious weed seeds, these are going to be some of the most undesirable weed seeds as they become very difficult to manage once they're fully established. What classifies a noxious weed versus a non-noxious weed? That answer is very indefinite, because what I want you to realize is that the list of noxious weed seeds that you see will actually vary depending on the state that you live in. If you're looking to find out that information, I highly recommend that you go check out your local Turf University extension, as they will have a lot of this information. Now, while we're on the topic of undesirable weeds, let's talk about a couple examples and also another fact that you should look for to be extra careful. There's 2 examples I have for you. Number 1 is going to be Poa annua, and number 2 is going to be Poa trivialis. These 2 are very similar, but they're also very different, which we're not going to get into today. They're both nuisance weeds, as they like to display themselves as light green spots in the middle of your double dark blue-green lawn. It doesn't blend very well, to say the least. Let's just say that. One more thing I want to talk about here while we're on the topic of noxious weed seeds is the fact that not all noxious weed seeds, like Poa annua or Poa trivialis, have to be labeled as a noxious weed seed if they're lower than the set percentage recommended by your local state weed law. A good example of this would be Purdue, Indiana weed laws. That's the article I'm going to use here. If you guys want to check it out, I will leave that linked in the description below. I'm here on Purdue's website, and what they tell me is that if your bag of grass seed contains 0.25% or more of a certain noxious weed, it then has to be labeled as a noxious weed seed. Otherwise, that seed is illegal to sell. Whereas on the other hand of that, if that noxious weed is less than 0.25%, then it doesn't have to be labeled as a noxious weed, but it at least has to be labeled as a crop percentage. Now, a good example of that would be like Poa annua, right? If you have less than 0.25% of Poa annua present in your grass seed, it doesn't have to be labeled as a noxious weed seed, but it has to be labeled as a crop seed percentage to at least signify the fact that it's in there. Now, this brings me to the third and final label that I want you to pay attention to today on your grass seed, and that is going to be crop seed percentage. Now, these are what I like to call contaminants incognito, because like I talked about earlier, your noxious weeds, if they're lower than the set percentage recommended by your state weed laws, then they can just get by being listed as a crop percentage. So while you might get something in your crop percentage that's beneficial, I don't recommend taking the risk, as you are still holding the risk of introducing noxious weeds into your seed. To sum up everything I talked about, as far as choosing the best grass seed, makeup of the seed is more important than where you source it. Make sure your weed seed percentage, noxious weed seed percentage, and crop seed percentage are all along the lines of 0 or none. Make sure that your grass seed doesn't contain any of those whatsoever. If you do that, you're going to get a really good quality blend of seed where you won't hold the risk of bringing any weed seeds into your grow. Okay, so the second piece of material I want to talk about here is going to be seed covering. This is going to be very important for those of you guys who are seeding bare spots or large, thin, bare areas, as you want a covering over that seed to hold it in place. So here are a couple of great products you could find at the store that work really well for this purpose. The first product I highly recommend for this is going to be the Scotch Patchmaster. Now, basically what Patchmaster is it's a recycled newspaper that acts as a sticker when it gets wet to hold the seed in place. This comes in smaller packaging, which makes it perfect for seeding bare spots. As far as application, all you have to do is manually disperse the product evenly across the area that you're seeding. It's recommended by Scotts that you keep this layer thin. A ½ inch at most is all you need. Any thicker, that'll defeat the purpose of the product, as it will choke out your seed. In addition to Scott's Patchmaster, another great product for this is peat moss. Peat moss is a thin brown fibrous substance that is used a lot in lawn care and gardening, primarily for moisture retention. Peat moss is very different compared to Patchmaster, albeit both are somewhat similar, as you have to evenly disperse them across the lawn by hand and water them in afterwards to activate the sticker. But what makes it different is not only the material, but the fact that it comes in larger packaging, which makes it perfect for seeding a larger area that is bare or overall thin. And when it comes to application, thickness depends on the situation. If you're seeding thin spots or thin areas, a ½ inch thick is all you need. If you're seeding a bare area, 1 to 2 inches is even better. At this point, we've gotten our grass seed down to fill in the gaps, and on top of that, we've also got a nice seed covering to help hold the seed in place and retain a little bit of moisture. Now all that's left is fertility products to help kickstart the growth of our new seed. There's going to be one main question up front, and that is, what makes up a perfect fall fertility product? It doesn't matter what type of fertilizer you get, as long as number one, it's a straight fertility product, and number two, it contains the 3 main elements: the N, the P, the K: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The benefits we're going to get from nitrogen is, number one, it's going to stimulate top growth, which is going to be very important for the development of our seed. We need something in there to kickstart that growth, and that's where nitrogen will come into play. And on top of that, it's also going to give us a nice green up that will improve the overall color and appearance of the lawn. Phosphorus, on the other hand, is going to be very important, as its main goal is going to be to improve root development. It's going to do this by encouraging processes such as cell division and enlargement. Doing so will help our new seed mature faster, which is very important as we are talking about new seed here. We want to give it everything we can to make sure that we give it the proper upbringing. And then potassium. Potassium is going to be the regulator of the growth. The purpose it's going to serve here is it's going to thicken plant cell walls, which will help regulate water and nutrient flow into the turf root. If there's 2 things we do in excess with fall seeding, number one, we give the lawn a nutrient load to kickstart the new seed, and number two, we also do a lot of watering to make sure that that seed germinates. So having that regulator element like potassium in there is just going to make sure that we're not giving the plant too much at one time. It'll just help regulate it as it enters the plant root system. The first product I have for you guys is starter fertilizer. Now, when I say starter fertilizer, I don't mean a product specifically labeled as starter fertilizer, but more so any straight product you could find that contains the 3 main elements like we talked about earlier. An example of this would be like 10-10-10 or 6-6-6 or 13-13. These products will provide you 2 benefits right up front. Number one, you will get all 3 elements, and number two, you'll get a fast release of nitrogen that will kickstart the growth of your new seed and provide a quick green up to your existing grass. As far as how much to apply enough to give you 0.5 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. Next up in the fall fertility lineup is a fan favorite here in the community, and that is Milorganite. Milorganite is going to be more of a slow release type fertilizer, which means that it will release small nutrient amounts over time as the plant grows to need it. The analysis we're dealing with here is going to be a 6-4-0, so 6% nitrogen, 4% phosphorus, and no potassium. Due to Milorganite's lack of potassium, I highly recommend you implement an outside potassium supplement. Lucky for you, I have 2 products I highly recommend for this purpose, and they're both from the Green County Next line. The first product is going to be 002 Microgreen. If there's anything that Microgreen is abundant in, it's 2 things. Number one is a dose of the micros to help the macros, and number two, it's potassium. Apply this product at the high rate of 12 ounces per 1,000, and you'll get a grand total of 0.02 pounds of potassium per 1,000 square feet. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but keep in mind it is a supplement, so it's going to be just enough. In addition to the 002, another great product from the Next line is going to be Aerate 005. Those of you guys who watch the channel regularly know that I recommend the use of Aerate primarily to increase nutrient penetration in the soil, hence the name Aerate. In addition to that, this product also contains 5% potassium, which also makes it a great potassium supplement for fall seeding. Apply this product at the high rate of 9 ounces per 1,000 and you'll get 0.03 pounds of potassium. The third product I'm about to show you just came to market this season and is what I like to call a combo, as it is both a fast and slow release product, and that is going to be X-Start from Carbon Earth Company. The analysis we're dealing with here is going to be an 8-24-4, so 8% nitrogen, 24% phosphorus, and 4% potassium. Within that 8% nitrogen is 6% ammoniacal nitrogen that'll give you a quick green up, and the other 2%, which is water insoluble, that'll give you a slow release over time to sustain the color. This product is also very unique as it contains biochar, which will hold and release nutrients when needed, and fulvic acid, which promotes nutrient penetration in the plant root. As far as application with this product, apply anywhere from 3 to 9 pounds per thousand to give yourself anywhere from 1/4 to 3/4 pound of nitrogen. If you do that, you're gonna get really good results. Last but not least is going to be a liquid fertility product, and that is going to be Green Pop 1621-2 from the Greene County Next line. Now this product is also new as it came to market this season. What makes this product very unique is the fact that you can achieve a lot with very little. Now to explain what I mean by that, when you apply this product at the recommended rate of 12 ounces per thousand, you only get 0.17 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, which doesn't seem like a lot, but to ensure you get the most out of that low amount, Greene County juices the product with chelators such as humic acid to make those nutrients more readily available to the plant. The last thing we're going to talk about here is going to be our equipment. We're going to start off with a spreader. It's very crucial that you have a spreader of some sort to help evenly distribute all of those granular products that we're going to be applying across the lawn area. And that's where having a really good quality spreader can come into play. The first recommendation I have for you is going to be for the average homeowner who is just starting out in their lawn care venture, and that is the Scotts DLX spreader. You can find these at any big box store. They're like 60 bucks. They contain 46-pound hopper and edge guard technology, which makes them perfect for the average lawn size of 5,000 square feet or less. So one of the partners I've been working with here on the channel for about 1.5 years now that makes really good quality spreaders are Spyker Spreaders. I've had the opportunity to receive and try out Spyker's top of the line professional model, and that is their SPY80-1S. Obviously this is going to be more of a commercial quality spreader as it has an 80-pound hopper, air-filled tires, and a really wide spreader swath. But I wanted to throw this out there because I gotta say, after the past 1.5 years of being able to use this spreader on pretty much any lawn situation, small and big, steep and flat, it's made really short work of all those situations. But acknowledging the fact that some of my audience members here are DIY homeowners with average lawn sizes of 5,000 square feet, I wanted to appeal to you guys in some way, shape, or form with this partnership, so I contacted the folks at Spyker and I was asking them, hey, what do you guys think would be a great entry-level spreader for a lawn that's 5,000 square feet? And this is what they recommended. The P205010 from Spyker Spreaders. If you are a little more experienced in your DIY lawn care venture and you're looking to up your spreader game, then this is the spreader for you. This spreader consists of a 50-pound hopper, air-filled tires, power-coated steel frame, and a spreader width of 4 to 12 feet. Perfect for 5,000 square feet. The next piece of equipment I highly recommend you have, if you don't, is going to apply to those of you guys who are looking to get into liquid fertility, and that is going to be a really good quality sprayer. First up is a cheap, easy solution you can find at any big box store such as Home Depot and Lowe's. The Ortho Dial-In Spray Hose End Sprayer. Hose end sprayers are a great introduction to spraying liquids. All you have to do is pour in your product, kick on your hose, and spray. The hose end sprayer will do the rest. This is perfect for a postage stamp lawn. For 5,000 square feet or less, I highly recommend the FH25E from Sprayers Plus. For $109, this is what I would consider the entry level of all their sprayers. It contains a 2-gallon tank and a 12-volt battery, which is capable for providing 36 gallons of spray duration on a single charge. For 5,000 square feet or more, the YT25E is the way to go. Now, for $139, this is very similar to the FH25E as it has a 2-gallon tank tank and a similar battery life, but it is more advanced as it has a wider spray pattern and a comfort grip on the handle. For 10,000 square feet or more, you cannot disappoint with the 105EX. For $229, this sprayer is the top of the line of landscape and gardening, as it contains a 4-gallon tank and a variety of nozzle options, which will allow you to cover a large amount of area in a short amount of time. Last but not least, we need to talk about a means of irrigation, and that's what's going to bring us to our sprinklers. If there's one thing I'm going to say a lot in the upcoming videos here, is that you need to make sure that you can keep this seed watered at least 3 times a day. Now, for those of you guys who have sprinkler systems, I know this will be very easy for you, as all you have to do is set your zones and you're good to go. But this can be really hard for those of you guys who water your lawns manually, as you kind of have to work around your schedule a little bit, right? You have work, you got kids, you got family, all sorts of things. I understand where you're coming from, and luckily I have the perfect solution for you, and that is going to be what I have termed the JTLK irrigation system. It's basically a DIY sprinkler system that I created with materials that I bought from the store for minimal cost and minimal effort. If you guys would like to hear more details about that, like the timer I recommend, the hoses, the sprinklers, everything. If you guys want to hear all about that, I will leave a link here in the eye in the top right corner, as well as a link in the description below that'll take you to the companion video that I did for that irrigation system. At this point, we have made it to the end of the video, and for those of you guys who made it all the way here, I just want to say I appreciate you guys, and that I do have a special incentive for you guys, and it is going to be the fact that I, Jake the Lawn Kid, am going to be hosting a first ever beginner fall lawn care setup giveaway here on the channel. So the items we're going to be giving away are going to be, first off, that entry-level Spyker I talked about, so the P205010, 1 bag of Carbon X, the Green County Next Seed Starter Pack, and I even had my friends over at Golden Protective pitch in. They're going to be giving away a pair of these Golden Protective Black Diesel gloves, as well as a pair of chili grips, which I don't have with me today, but based on what I've been hearing, those are really good quality gloves for those of you guys who do a lot of work in the winter and or general lawn or landscaping chores that are going on around the household. And we will be giving away both of these in any size. The rules for this giveaway are going to be very simple. Number one, you have to be in the US. I'm sorry to all my overseas friends. I would love to ship to you guys, but due to shipping costs, that's just not going to be viable. So US only for this one. And as far as what you have to do to enter the giveaway, you have to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what item you want and why. And then by the end of the week, we will choose 5 of the lucky winners. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, as I will show you how to get the deepest, darkest, greenest, thickest lawn on the block. With that, I'm Jake the Lawn Kid. Thank you for watching. Good luck to everybody who's entering the giveaway, and I'll see you guys next time. If I don't see you guys next time, your lawn is going to be dominated. See you later.